Sanctificetur nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo.
Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Restore Christendom. I'm Tommy,
And I'm Emily.
and that's who we are. Now you know.
It's Wednesday, May 28th, 2025 at 7:20 p.m. Central Time Zone. Good evening,
Well,
everybody.
that's more information than they needed now.
I don't think so.
No, I'm pretty sure.
Good evening, Reef.
Good up. What up, Reef? Good up.
Good up.
Good up.
Glad you're here. We have something for you. Stick around for a minute.
yeah. We'll get to that in a minute. No, well, that's a part of why we're a little late, and I'm a little out of it right now.
That's okay.
It's been a long day after work. Went for a nice long bike ride, and then had the shower, and then prayers, and then on the air.
Oh, ate dinner.
Oh yeah, I had dinner in there in between too. Yeah.
In between doing stuff.
Yeah, in between the bike ride and the shower.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the prayers.
Yes.
And then the show.
Yes.
It never stops.
You know,
That's all right.
you stay out of trouble if you keep yourself busy.
Right. Yes. It's less time I spend sitting on the couch, scrolling through the YouTubes.
That's true. That is true. Oh, Tyler. We're not gonna be at this one.
Yeah, we were at the oops. Yes, we were at the last one. We're not going to make this one.
Yeah, we were at the one in October. And unfortunately, this spring, mostly summertime, we're just trying to be Catholics right now.
Yeah.
We have a lot of churches that we want to go check out. Now that we have weekends free, and that also means that we can go camping and fishing and do stuff outside.
Yeah.
So we kind of want to have a normal life.
Yeah.
So we don't have any trips planned.
Yeah, I don't mind going to Florida for stuff like this in like October when we went.
It's a nice reprieve from Midwest.
Yeah, it's starting to get cold here. I'm not ready to end my summer. It's nice, but yeah, come this time of year, I'm too busy fishing and hiking and
doing stuff,
being outdoors and making sure I get the mass on Sundays.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, we're not going to make this one.
Unfortunately, we won't be at this one. But if you are going, I hope that you have a wonderful time hanging out with dangerous retards.
Yeah.
I know that we're not going. I think that there's like maybe one or two other people who aren't making it from the last one. But for the most part, most of the gang is going. And I hope that you have a wonderful time and you really enjoy yourself. And don't allow yourself to have that like weird hour to 3 hours where you're like, I really don't know these people, but I kind of know these people, but I don't want to interact with these people, but I interact with these people every day. You know how it is like whenever you first meet an internet friend in real life, like don't do that 1 to 3 hour awkward window. Like dive in. These are the homies. You act like you know these people as much as you can know anybody really. And the only way to know them better is to actually interact with them as human beings. So that's my only tidbits of advice for max enjoyment of Bro Grove.
Yeah.
These are the homies from the live chat. You're finally putting faces to names. And however long you guys have been homies in the live chat, that's the foundation of your friendship. So
yes,
I hope you guys enjoy it. I really hope it is a good time.
Yeah, looking at the lineup, it should be a much better time than the last one. Last
Yeah.
one was kind of last minute, a lot of cancellations. They did a good job for throwing it together last minute, like they wound up doing.
Yeah. Well, and then also with with it, the organization being what it was the last time, but then also a lot of people dropping out last minute
Yeah,
or
yeah.
lack of communication stuff. I hope it runs smoothly. I really hope that you all have a wonderful
Yeah, it
time.
looks like it'll be a pretty good lineup this time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope you guys have a blast.
I'm gonna look this week and see which church I'm gonna tell you guys to go to mass at. Only because I know that there's one close by. I know there is. And Ryan already reached out to me to see what hotel everybody was staying at. So I guess if you guys need somebody to do all that shit, let me know and I'll figure it out this week for you guys. I'll figure out what hotel to put you in. So if you guys need that done, let me know. I'll do it for you.
Yeah, we kind of
Even
did
though
that
I'm not
last
going.
time. So,
Yeah, we were kind of the point person on that. So
yeah.
if it needs to be done, I'll do it even though we're not going.
Yeah.
And also even though Tom did it last time.
Yes. Evening, Ginny.
Good evening, Jenny.
And then Reef with the bike bandit comment. Yes, actually, I got a new bike, sir. So new bike means new pictures of me in spandex bike shorts. So
Yep.
I hope you're excited about that, Reef.
Get ready. Get your screenshot fingers ready.
Yeah. Yes, tomorrow is the Mass of the Ascension. I think we're going to be going to Springfield to catch the Latin Mass on that one.
Okay.
Tomorrow night, so we'll see. Yes, Catholics are so organized. Yeah, it is kind of part of being Catholic.
It's just so much easier that way.
I mean, I was already organized beforehand, so but it doesn't hurt.
No. It's nice to have a routine or at least even whenever it changes, like just to have the constant and stability of a routine.
Yes.
Humans like desperately need it. We don't realize how badly we need it until we finally like get one of our own. And then we're like, oh my gosh, this is kind of like life on easy mode. Weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
So.
Without any further ado.
Oh yeah.
No, it doesn't need to go on the OnlyFans.
It doesn't need to go on OnlyFans, Reef. I'll show you right now. It's okay. I will post right now.
We'll do this under his charitable acts.
Yes, this is under my charitable acts. I like to give you guys a smile.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys will think it's funny. It's just
who doesn't appreciate someone capable of the self-deprecating humor?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, plus it's like I was like really into cycling for a lot of years, and I know that like those dudes like you see ride the Tour de France in their tight little shorts and they're doing 200 miles a day on a bicycle. Those are some of the most badass dudes like ever. They are all super egotistical, like alpha male types. You'd think if you didn't know they were cyclists and you met them, you'd think they were hockey players or something. It's like it's really
that's the personality they have.
Yeah, or fighters or something. But and they're all in like the best shape in the world. So like I don't mind being associated with those types of people. So
there's worse people.
Yeah. But yeah, let's there we go. There is the new bike and the new picture for Reef in the bike shorts.
Yep.
So aha.
And the grape smuggling and everything.
Yes.
And even the Subaru in the background.
Yes. There's got to be a Subaru in the background.
Yep. There you go. Merry Christmas. It's my whole brand.
It's my whole brand.
Yep.
So there you go, Reef. There is new pictures for you. You don't have to survive off the old ones anymore.
Some new images to put in the bank.
Don't be doing anything dirty to those pictures now.
Well, no promises. It is Reef.
It's Reef. Oh man.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about tonight? Now that we're not looking at me in bike shorts anymore.
Oh, we got through the funny haha part.
I guess. I mean, are we still doing the funny haha part?
Well, I don't know. I think the whole show tries to be a funny haha part. But that's the thing is he matching with the water bottle or does the water bottle match the bike and then in turn he's matching the bike?
Yeah. Well, it's also more or less to make sure I'm seeing because I ride on the roads and cars. Bright colors help you be seen, but the water bottles definitely match the bike.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And I just happen to match the bike.
Yeah. Just a happy coincidence.
Yeah, if you saw me riding yesterday, I wasn't matching the bike. I was wearing completely unmatching.
Yeah, it was. He was wearing his Italian flag shirt yesterday.
Yes. Yes. Blessings, Lucas. Blessings.
Good evening, sir. It is so there's 3 different saints that are recognized today for their feast days.
Yes. And we titled it the feast day of Saint Bernard of Montjoux because
Mhm.
that is my confirmation saint.
Mhm.
That is Saint Bernard of Montjoux right there.
Yes.
So we labeled it that, and we will talk about that. There are also 2 other saints that share this feast day.
Mhm.
There's so many saints that sometimes they gotta share days.
It happens that way sometimes.
Um, I don't. Are those in the bookmarks or are they just in the messages?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're just.
Probably just in the messages then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So,
So start there.
we've got Saint Germanus
Oh, we're gonna
of
go right into this.
Paris.
Okay, yeah. So go ahead and show that.
Saint Germanus of Paris, a gentle shepherd, miracle worker, and tireless intercessor for the poor. His prayers converted hearts, his charity softened kings. Paris wept at his death, and heaven rejoiced. Uh, Pray for holy bishops and charity of heart.
Yes. And praying for holy bishops will kind of tie into the other thing we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
And we'll bring that up after we
Well,
do the saints.
It's kind of funny because we have 2 bishops today. The other saint of feast day today is that of Saint Augustine of Canterbury.
You have it right there.
Oh, well, that's whatever. Um,
You're like struggling to read this one. You have a monitor right in front of you with the same thing
yeah.
on it.
Okay. So the feast day of Saint Augustine of Canterbury, Bishop and Apostle of England. Um, do 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 do. He was the uh he was sent to England to bring Christianity to England and further the message.
Oh yeah, the first Bishop of Canterbury.
Yeah. Oh, I guess it's right here in the front. As Saint Betty Bede,
Yeah.
the Venerable tells us in his Historia
Ecclesiastica.
Ecclesiastica, Pope Saint Gregory the Great, prompted by divine inspiration, sent a servant of God named Augustine and several more God-fearing monks with him to preach the word of God to the English race. So you've got the one
Well,
Germanus of Paris, a bishop, and then also Saint Augustine of Canterbury, who was also a bishop.
do they talk at all about his? Because it got a pretty interesting story of him going over there. In fact, he went over and basically had to turn around and come back from bad weather and them not wanting him there.
Hmm.
And then he came back and prayed with the Pope, and the Pope sent him back, and then he wound up converting.
10,000.
Yeah, King Aethelwulf, something like that.
Yeah.
Is it on there somewhere? St. Augustine's Apostle England, thrilling interest, the landing of the Roman missionaries.
King Ethelbert.
Ethelbert, there it is. Marching the country to the chant of the litany, the willing and almost kind welcome given them by King Ethelbert, the influence exercised by his Queen Bertha, who was a Frenchwoman and a Catholic, in the establishment of the faith among the Saxons, the baptism of 10,000 neophytes on Christmas Day, and in the bed of a river, the foundation of the Metropolitan See of Canterbury, one of the most illustrious churches of Christendom on account of the holiness and noble doings of its archbishops. All these admirable episodes of England's conversion are eloquent proofs of God's predilection of our dear land. Augustine's peaceful and gentle character, together with his love of contemplation amidst his arduous missionary labors, gives an additional charm to the magnificent page of the church history. But who can help feeling sad at the thought that the country, favored as ours has been with such grace, should have apostatized from the faith, have repaid with hatred that Rome which made her Christian, and have persecuted with unheard of cruelties, Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries, the Benedictine order of which she owed so much of her glory. Yada yada. So yeah, that's Saint Augustine went over there. He went over to preach the gospel to the Saxons. This is before the English were Christian; they were still pagan at the time. Came over. Now the king had, because back then that's how they used to do it to strengthen bonds between kingdoms. So he married a French wife. The family, and so she was French. So obviously she was Catholic. So when the missionary showed up, she was like, "Hey, this is awesome. Yeah,
down.
guys, let's convert everybody to Christianity. This is good stuff."
Yeah.
So, yes, he did a lot, and yes, the See of Canterbury before the Reformation used to be one of the prize, would say, want to say the crown jewels, but one of the jewels of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
It was a pretty prestigious and big position, and because Christianity was huge in England,
a big deal.
Yeah, and then Henry VIII screwed it all up.
Yeah, well,
because he had to have that divorce.
Sometimes you just want what you want,
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while, that's a divorce.
And that is why Protestants nowadays think it's okay to divorce, because Protestantism was partially founded on divorce.
Yeah. It's
At least the Protestantism the way we know it, the American version.
Core principles.
American Protestantism started out as Anglicanism, which was because of the divorce.
Yeah.
They just switched from Anglicanism to Episcopalian because you couldn't have the king as the head of the church when we just beat him in a war.
When you just emancipated yourself.
So, what's going on, JC? How are you, sir?
Good evening. Good evening, JC.
Yes. The chat is awful quiet tonight.
That's all right.
Well, we don't have a lot of content, so it's not really that good for them to be quiet.
Well, it kind of is. It's fun.
It's going to be an early show then.
All right. Who's the third saint that we have?
The third saint is Saint Bernard.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go. I have a couple things for him, but so here is Saint Bernard with the famous Saint Bernard dogs, and that is where Saint Bernard's dogs breed's name comes from.
Yes.
Trained by the Saint Bernard and other monks to help with rescues in the Alps.
Mm-hmm. They have a little barrel of whiskey. Is that what that's in there? Or ale or something? What's in the barrel?
Yeah. So the church remembers Saint Bernard. Usually something like whiskey or something like that.
Something to warm you up.
Yes. The church remembers Saint Bernard of Manthin today. He's known as Saint Bernard of Manthin, Saint Bernard of Montjoux, or Saint Bernard of what's the other one? To one of the other posts. We'll cover it in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. The church remembers Saint Bernard of Manthin today, May 28th. He was Burgundian. He was from Burgundy. Priest who found the Great and Little Saint Bernard hospices in the Alps to aid pilgrims and travelers crossing dangerous mountain passes. I'm not going to read the rest of that because I got a bigger thing we're going to go to here.
Oh.
So Saint Bernard of Manthin. This is from the Newman Center. So I don't know if too many people know what Newman centers are, but they're on all Catholic campuses. St. John Newman.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, from the Newman Center.
Saint Bernard of Menthon, also known as Saint Bernard of Montjoux, was the founder of the famed hospice, which served the travelers for nearly 1,000 years. He was also the founder of the Congregation of the Canons Regular, which has served throughout that history. It
is also the hospice that gave rise to the famous breed of dogs, Saint Bernard, named for that hospice. Bernard was born around 1020, probably in the Chateau of Menton, a part of the Kingdom of Arles. He was descendant of a rich and noble family. He received a good education. When he had received his education, he decided to devote himself to the service of the church and refused an honorable marriage proposed by his father. A popular story is that he fled from his castle the night before his arranged wedding and threw himself from an upper window. He was captured by angels and lowered gently to the ground 40 feet below. He placed himself under the director of Peter, the Archdeacon of Aosta. It was under Peter's guidance that he rapidly progressed in his faith, and Bernard was ordained a priest. Because of his learning and heroic virtue, he was appointed to succeed his mentor as Archdeacon of the cathedral. Duties included being in charge of the government of the diocese, and he worked directly under the bishop. Bernard was disturbed by seeing the old pagan ways continue among the people of the Alps, and devoted himself to their conversion. For 42 years, he continued to preach the gospel to these people and even into many other areas, affecting numerous conversations. He was said to have worked many miracles.
Affecting numerous conversions.
Oh, conversions. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. It is for another reason, however, that Bernard's name will forever be famous in history. Since the most ancient of times, there has been paths across the Pennine Alps. This leads from the valley of Aosta to the Swiss canyon of Valais. The traditional route of this pass is covered with perpetual snow from 7 to 8 feet deep, with drifts of snow sometimes accumulating to the height of 40 plus feet. This pass was extremely dangerous, especially in the springtime when the threat of avalanches and avalanches and French and German pilgrims on their way to Rome often used it. His position in the office as the archdeacon, Bernard had the duties of caring for the poor and travelers. For the convenience and protection, Bernard found a canonry and hospice at the highest point of the pass, 8,000 feet above sea level, in the year 1050. The site now bears his name. Within a few years, he established another hospice on the Little St. Bernard Pass, a mountain saddle in the Graian Alps. Sorry if I butchered this. 7,076 feet above sea level. Both of these were placed in the care of the communities of the Canons Regular after papal approval had been obtained by Bernard during a visit to Rome. The new community was placed under the patronage of Saint Nicholas of Myra, patron saint of travelers. Saint Bernard died in June 1081 in the imperial free city of Novara and was interred in the monastery at St. Lawrence. These hospices were renowned for their generous hospitality extended to travelers over the Great and Little St. Bernard passes, so called in honor of the founder of these charitable institutions. At all seasons of the year, but especially during heavy snowstorms, the canons were accompanied by their well-trained dogs, the common herding dogs of Valais St. Bernards. They would go out in search of victims who might have succumbed to the severity of the weather or needed assistance. They offered food, clothing, and shelter to the unfortunate travelers and took care of the dead. They depended on gifts and collections for sustainability. As of 2012, the congregation consists of about 35 professed members. The majority of them live in the hospice while providing pastoral care to neighboring parishes. St. Bernard dogs are still used on the site as pets, while helicopters are used in rescue operations. St. Bernard was venerated from the 12th century, but was not formally canonized until 1681 by Pope Innocent XI. Pope Pius XI confirmed St. Bernard as the patron saint of the Alps in 1923.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, so patron saint of skiers, skateboarders, mountain climbers, backpackers, and the Alps.
Nice.
And that is why he is my confirmation saint. He is the patron saint of mountain climbers and backpackers and the Alps.
There you go. What more do you need?
Yeah, exactly. And then one other thing. Where was the other one? So Saint Bernard of Menton, also Saint Bernard of Savoy. That's the third one. He's known by three different, Menton, Savoy, or Montjoux. But properly, it's Montjoux. So,
Bernard of Savoy.
Yes.
Nice.
So yeah, so that is the feast day of Saint Bernard today. I'm sorry to make you guys suffer through all that. I can see we are down to 4 viewers now.
No, we're not. We only lost 2 of them, and it could have been a glitch.
No, they heard me read and they were like, I am out of
Oh,
here.
that guy's reading again.
Yes, all monotoned.
Words.
Yeah,
Words are hard.
could be worse. It could be Anthony Stein reading to you.
It could be that. Could be that. Between that and then the censored words because of the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah,
It's difficult.
yeah. He's got a lot of really good, important things to say. It's just listening to him say it can be tough sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want to
Oh.
be talking smack about him, but
In the spirit of France needs him back in the worst way possible.
yes,
England needs Augustine of Canterbury back.
yes.
Uh,
Well, England is reverting back to Catholicism. There's now more
They are.
Catholics than there are Anglicans in England.
Well, yeah, that's because the Anglican Church went and lost the dang minds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I said it on Morning Crew like a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now. I was on a rant about something, and I said something to the effect of like it was super easy to like be a saint today in 2025. Like it doesn't really take much to do like good human things for other humans around you.
Right, yeah.
It's
Not like it was back then when you gotta
yeah,
going through 12 feet of snow to try to find somebody, and
right. Yeah, you had to like live at 8,000 feet above sea level in the Swiss Alps, taking care
perpetual
of
snow,
pilgrims.
yeah.
Right, just always in the snow. Just arduous journeys to go rescue people who are just trying to like take a little trippy, or any of the
Well, usually
other
they're on a pilgrimage to Rome.
for
Yeah,
something. Yeah, some holy
for something to
pilgrimage.
see,
Right,
yeah, just to see the
a
holy.
pilgrimage. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty easy in 2025 to do good human things for other good human or for other humans, whether they're good or not.
Yeah, it was tough.
Hello,
Especially
Curtis.
back in the days of.
Oh, good to know you're still here, Lucas.
Yes.
Yeah, the Orthodox Church is growing also.
Yeah, the Anglican Church has failed completely failed. But it was doomed to start with. I mean, honestly, look at how it was founded. It was doomed to fail.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it took this many years.
I mean, hey, but if there was a hard rule that you couldn't have split off from the Anglicans and the Episcopals would have never happened in America, then none of the other American only ones would have happened.
No, they still would have.
I'm
1800s
maybe.
still would have came around and you'd still have what you have today.
You think so?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
all right.
Now, if the Protestant Reformation never happened, maybe not.
Mm.
But that goes beyond. I mean, Anglicanism came along after Luther.
Mm-hmm.
So at first, England wasn't going to be part of the Protestant Reformation, but then he couldn't get his divorce.
And they decided.
Couldn't get my divorce, and all of a sudden, you know what? Catholic Church got a lot of shiny things and big buildings over here. What if I were to just take
Why
them?
not? What if I'm the guy?
What if I were to just execute their bishops and then take their stuff?
What if I'm the guy?
They ain't got an army anymore.
Nope. We told them they don't need it. We got your back.
Right? Yeah.
We're the army now. Yeah, that is how it went down, isn't it?
Yep.
That makes sense.
So it should be no shock that it has failed. It should only be a shock that it took this long to fail.
True.
Well.
They did have a good run though.
Mm-hmm.
Solid little stint there.
Now, right or wrong, at least Luther's reason for what he did was, I don't want to say just, but at least his heart was in the right spot, maybe you could say. I don't know. I don't know all the ins. There's so much gray area. There's so much misinformation. I don't know all the intricate details of the story. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm just going to assume, like, if you look at how that went down, you know what I mean? Like, it looked like at least he was like, no, there's a lot of bad things happening in the Catholic Church right now. And there were.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's just reform this. And then he took a little too far, I think. But at least he was like, at least it wasn't just one of those things like, hey, I want to do something for my own selfish personal reasons solely for my own person. You know, that he may have thought he would become the Pope of this new thing. Maybe there was a little bit of a selfish reason there. But at the end of the day, it was like, hey, there's some shit going on that we need to reform.
Yeah, there's an issue, and
here's
what I've noticed.
He may have gone about it wrong. He may have been wrong about something. Whatever. I don't know all the details, but at least there was some validity, a little bit of like, something there.
He actually had like you said, validity to his complaint.
Right. There may have been some selfishness involved in it. I don't know. But but yeah, the Anglican Church with King Henry, it was just straight up I
not
want a
gonna give me
divorce
a
and
good
I am going to take all these people to hell with me, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to hell and I'm gonna take the entire country with me.
Yes. Well, like I said, it was a good run.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a good run.
So
Wait a second.
oh, did you want some of that? Fine, you can have some, I guess. You guys see what I have to deal with?
Oh, you poor thing. You poor thing.
She's always staring at me and licking her lips when I got my bike shorts on. Objectifying me.
That is true.
Yeah, you're not supposed to objectify me. What does the Bible say about objectifying people?
Well, I'm pretty sure if it's your husband or your wife, it doesn't count. I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kidding. So one last thing, since Malort, since you guys don't want to help us out here,
That's a good one, Tyler.
yeah,
Mary, Queen of Scots.
yep, yeah. Oh yeah, the last thing to cover is I'm sure you guys don't know because you're not Catholics, but the bishop in Charlotte, North Carolina, not South Carolina, North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina. Went ahead and canceled all the traditional Latin masses in the diocese. Basically, shut them all the diocese ones down, and said, okay, you're allowed to have it twice a month in this chapel that's like on the far outskirts of the diocese, middle of nowhere, that actually used to be a Protestant church, and I don't even know how the Catholic Church got a hold of it, but it's technically a Protestant church. I think they rent it or something. But yeah. So, and I don't want to get into this kind of stuff because, like, who am I to sit here and tell you anything about the liturgy? I have been. I'll get to that in a minute, Ginny.
Wonderful question. I'm glad you asked, Jen.
Yeah, it is a wonderful question. I'm glad you asked. But I don't want to get into these kind of conversations because I've only been Catholic for a short period of time, and I don't think it's my place to tell anybody how they should be Catholic. Fair. Whether it's telling people that you should only go to a Latin mass or telling people that you should only go to Novus Ordo, it's not my place to decide what's good and what's bad and what's right and what's wrong.
You know you're supposed to go, just go.
Yeah. It's just like maybe in 10 years I will be versed well enough in all the intricate details of the ins and outs of it that I feel like I can sit up here and tell you guys which way is the you should feel about it, but I'm not. It's no secret I prefer the Latin mass, but we attend far more Novus Orders than we do Latin masses.
Yeah.
Mainly because it's an hour drive to a Latin mass, and if we didn't have a good Novus Ordo close enough, then I probably would make the drive every weekend.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
If we had one of these clown masses, or you know what I mean.
But we have 3 decent Novus Ordos that we can go to within 20 minutes of the house.
Yeah,
25 minutes of the house.
Yeah,
you know
that's what I mean. So it's the one thing cathedral is pretty straightforward. There's no abuses there. There are some things, and there's a tweet that I will cover in a minute. That everybody knows my gripes with the Novus Ordo, no matter where you go. Yeah. No matter where you go,
it's pretty consistent.
But yeah, I'm just gonna. Where's my thing here? Okay, so here is the letter put out by the bishop. So it says, completing the implementation of Traditionis Custodes in the Diocese of Charlotte. So yes, I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about Traditionis Custodes before. That was the what are they called? Encyclical. Thank you. That was the encyclical put out by Pope Francis, basically strangling down on the Latin Mass, saying that it should be offered as little as possible. Um, you can only do it in certain special churches like shrines and things like that. He doesn't
Hmm.
want it in any diocese. It's basically just trying to get rid of the Latin Mass altogether. Um,
Limiting its ability to be used to almost
oh,
non-existent.
it's a motu proprio. That's what I'm looking for. So in July of 2021, Pope Francis published his motu proprio Traditionis Custodes, uh, which restored limits on the celebration of the traditional Latin Mass in the Universal Church to promote ecclesial communion. Um, my predecessor, Bishop Peter Juggins, requested and received from the Holy See an extension for the Diocese of Charlotte in order to arrange an orderly transition to the new instructions. That temporary extension expires this year, and I am now ready to finish the diocese implementation of the norms established in Traditionis Custodes. So, yes, the extension expires in November. I think it's November.
Hmm.
So, why is he pulling the plug right now?
I don't know.
Why is he not filing for another new pope? Do you know what I mean? Hey, new Holy Father, can you give me some clarification on this? Should I file for another extension? Do I not need an extension? Are you going to lift this?
Yeah.
Didn't even bother checking with Rome, and then and ended it early. Just said, nope, we're doing it right now. So, effective July 8th, 2025, the traditional Latin Mass will no longer be celebrated at parish churches in the Diocese of Charlotte. In accordance with Traditionis Custodes Article 3.2, I am designating a chapel in the diocese where faithful adherents may gather for the celebration of the Eucharist on Sundays and holy days of obligation using the Rome Missal of 1962. The chapel will set aside for this purpose is located at 757 Oak Ridge Farm Highway, Morrison, North Carolina, yada, yada, yada. The name of the chapel is yet to be determined. It's not even a named Catholic church. It's a Protestant, like I said, it's a Protestant church. And they're just going to name it a chapel.
So they're acquiring a new building and making it
Yeah,
in a low populated part of the diocese.
yeah. Far away from where most of the people live. Okay. A priest of the diocese will be appointed as chaplain to be responsible for celebrating 2 Sunday masses and Holy Day masses using the 1962 Roman Missal at this site. Those who are interested in participating in the Eucharistic celebration in this form will remain active members of their current parishes where they may continue receiving the sacraments. It is my heartfelt desire and prayer that the implementation of Traditionis Custodes will further promote the concord and unity of the church among the people of God and the Diocese of Charlotte, so that as Jesus prayed to his Father, we may all be one. John 17:21. So basically, what you want to do is you want to ruin a bunch of people's, I don't want to say ruin their lives, but a lot of people have moved not only from within a state, but from different states to certain areas specifically for the Latin Mass. And I happen to know that Charlotte is one of those areas. A lot of people flooded to get the Latin Mass.
To get the Latin Mass. So what's the sin where you make someone question their faith? Is that calumny?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
I don't know. But I think that that's like the biggest thing that probably a lot of people are dealing with right now is like, I can't, like, if you are one of those people who, have those feelings, those deep, deep feelings that like Novus Ordo is invalid and you're being forced to go participate in this thing that's not valid, like, what does that do to the individual in their own personal faith life? Like, it's not, you can't force someone to participate in a mass that they don't feel is valid and
Right.
then expect them to still have the same spiritual benefit as someone who does think it's valid, right? Like, isn't that the biggest issue that we have now when we talk about like the transubstantiation and the presence in the Eucharist? Like,
Yeah.
the people don't act like they're Catholics because they don't actually believe that they're consuming,
Right. Yes.
right?
Oh, yeah. So here is a picture of the new. This is the chapel they have designated as the. Yeah.
Mm,
It's out there in farmland, some old Protestant church.
a nondescript.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Um. Is this what I wanted to look at?
Yeah, that's a good question, Tyler. So Grok says 90,000 Catholics are in Charlotte alone. How would even a third go to that one chapel?
Yeah,
Right. Like, and what do you, he said, like, the bishop says 2 services. So that's 2 Sundays. He's going to go,
yeah,
some priest is going to go and give one service,
right.
just hold one mass, one, you know, like that's not going to be enough.
Yeah. So what's funny too is everybody wants to talk about Vatican II, and we got to do things cause of Vatican II, and you got to implement Vatican II. But like the worst abuse is that everybody complains about the Novus Ordo. If you get rid of these things, the Novus Ordo, if done reverently, the Novus Ordo is not that far different from the TLM. To be honest with you, you still got the Gloria, you still got the Sanctus, you still got the Agnus Dei, you still got. If you get rid of Eucharistic prayer number 2 and just do the original Roman Rite, which is in the Missal of 2002, it's one of the 4 that you're allowed to use. So if you just stick to that one, it's not far off from the Latin Mass at that point, except for you've got the lady getting up and doing 2 readings. Even you could have a priest or a deacon do the readings at that point. It's not that far different. But the problem is
one of them altar servers reading.
yeah, but the problem is that you've got altar girls.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got, which is not any way Catholic. It's always been altar boys, because altar boys is a pathway to the vocation of priesthood.
Right.
It's a way to get young men interested and work their way through and learn the mass and learn everything that they can and become seminarians.
And decide if that's a commitment.
So every girl up there is kind of taking a slot away from a boy that could be discerning the priesthood.
Agreed.
So you should not have female altar servers, and that is not in Vatican II. Nowhere in Vatican II does it say that that's okay. It's not even mentioned.
No, it's
But
not. The whole point of it wasn't to bring more women in. That's just the feminist world wanting what
the other biggest problem, Eucharistic ministers getting up there handing out the Eucharist like it's candy, by people who don't believe in the real presence anymore. That is not in Vatican II either.
Yeah,
that's something that was added just later by some pope or bishops, and it just became the norm. But yeah, none of this stuff is in Vatican II, and these are the biggest problems people have. Is the old boomer ladies up there running the show? I get to hand out the Eucharist instead of the priest because I deserve it.
I'm helping.
Yeah. No, it's a me thing. It's a selfish. It's a pride thing. Make no mistake about that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
they wouldn't let us be priests, so I'm going to be the one up here handing out communion, and I'll show them.
Yeah, when I said I'm helping, it's more of that like devouring mother.
Yeah, exactly.
Feminism, like let me shove my way in here to show you.
Yeah, if you only
I can do it too.
Yeah. If only you knew my way was better, you'd be okay with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, the biggest problems that most people have with Novus Ordo really aren't even due to Vatican. They shouldn't be there in the first place. They're put there. But yes, if you get rid of the Eucharistic ministers and you get rid of the crappy music and you get rid of the altar girls, most Novus Ordos are pretty good.
Or what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, we go to one where there's almost always no Eucharistic ministers. There's no altar girls.
Nope.
And it's organs and traditional hymns.
And there's a choir leading
all
traditional hymns.
Yeah, all traditional hymns, not the nonsense 70s music you hear at most of these Novus Ordo churches.
Yeah, not the worshipy songs.
What was that, Jenny? Question.
Maxie, go and walk.
Is the Latin Mass translated word for word into English? No. There's the Latin Mass, which is done in Latin, and then there's the Novus Ordo Mass, which is a whole new different thing that is done in English. And like I said, it's not supposed to be a completely different thing. For the most part, if you go to one that's actually done properly, ad orientem, with all the proper stuff and the proper chanting in Latin where it's supposed to be done, which it is done, then they're not all that different. The problem is so few places do that proper Novus Ordo.
Yeah.
I've yet to see a perfect one, to be honest with you. I've seen good ones. Sacred Heart's good enough. Occasionally there'll be a little bit of Latin chant, but at least the music is traditional. And there's usually no Eucharistic ministers or no altar girls. They use the incense, smells and bells. It's pretty good. But I do know there are ones, and we're going to go to one. It's about an hour from here. But at that point, I may as well go to a Latin mass as opposed to go to that regularly. Like, I'll go and check it out,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like I wouldn't attend it
Oh, no,
regularly
no.
because I'm going to drive an hour. I'm going to go to Latin mass. But there is one that is done ad orientem,
Oh, yeah.
with all the stuff, all the proper stuff done in Latin. The Gloria, the Agnus Dei, the Sanctus, the Confiteor, all that stuff done in Latin proper. So yeah.
It's out there.
It's out there, and it should be done that way everywhere. And if it was done that way everywhere, we wouldn't be having this argument, to be honest with you. I'm really sure we wouldn't. Because you know what? Latin Mass people would be more than happy to attend that if they needed to. But also, we wouldn't have the problem with the Latin Mass people if we were going to a divine liturgy ourselves.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have to attack them.
It wouldn't, right. There wouldn't be a need for there to be Latin Mass people if the
Yeah.
if the Novus Ordos provided were done reverently the way that they were
And like I said,
intended
there's
to
still
be.
people that are just going to want the Latin Mass because it is the traditional
Because
Mass
it is,
done for
right.
2000.
Yep.
It is the Catholic faith, essentially. It really is just, it is the Catholic faith. And I wouldn't want it to see it go away, even if all the Novus Ordos were as reverent as I described. I'd
Right,
still
yeah,
attend one at least once a month because it is the tradition of our people.
Yeah,
It
it still
is
needs to exist.
it is Catholicism.
Yeah.
It is at its core.
Yep.
It's you're celebrating the same Mass that your ancestors celebrated.
Well, and this is mostly because I don't look into the Latin Mass, Novus Ordo, that stuff. Like, not that I don't care about it. I do care. I don't think it's right to take things away from, good Catholics who actually go to Mass and enjoy it and gain something from it.
Right. And
Um,
have big families with lots of kids, and actually donate to the parishes.
Right. They financially and that's the side of it that I guess that's kind of where I was going with it. Is it only the American Latin Mass people that are being punished, or is this like a global push to not have the Latin Mass?
Mm,
Because if it's a global push to not have the Latin Mass, I can say, well, no, you're just erasing our history. You need to knock it off.
Under
If you're
Francis, it was a global
punishing,
push.
right, if you're punishing Americans
No.
for supporting their Catholic churches, and some of them are doing better than others.
Yeah,
and
no, it's really hard to find Latin masses
They're
all
trying
all
to-
around the world these days. Under
Okay.
Francis, it was worldwide. It wasn't just America. Traditionis Custodes applied worldwide.
Okay. Because
Um,
that's the
I'm hearing about these ones being shut down in America because we're in America. I bet you if I
Mhm.
lived in France, I'd hear about ones
You'd
getting
hear
shut
about
down in
ones in
France. If I
France,
lived in
too.
Italy, I'd hear about them getting shut down in
Right.
Italy. If I lived in Spain, they'd be getting shut down in Spain.
Yeah, that's not that it's like a selling point, but it's kind of a selling point of Catholicism to know that, like, if I went to the Latin Mass in Springfield, or the Latin Mass in New York, or the Latin Mass in Paris,
Or
the
the
Latin
Mass in Peru
Brazil
or
Peru,
Bolivia
right,
or
they'd all be the
South Korea.
exact
In North Korea, if I went to a Latin Mass in North Korea, it would look identical,
it would be the exact same one that
Yeah.
I'm used to at home, and that's like
except
that's
it'd be in somebody's basement, hidden.
right, yeah.
But
Yeah, that continuity, hermeneutic of continuity.
Mhm.
That's like a big selling point of Catholicism for me personally.
Mhm.
And I know that it's one for a lot of other people. And that's also one of the ways that you know that it's a truth, because we can all agree that it's a good thing.
Right.
We can all agree that this is, the right thing to do. And we've been able to agree on that for a very long time.
Right. Well, yeah, all I know is we still have a Latin Mass not too far from us, and I'll continue to attend it. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to get too opiniony and get on this because I'm not, I'm just a new Catholic. I shouldn't
Nobody
be.
special.
Nobody should be taking my opinions on this stuff. I don't know enough. I don't really have a dog in the fight either. You know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
came in the Novus Ordo Church and I knew what I was getting into when I came in that way.
Yep.
I do feel robbed. I do feel like not having a Latin Mass available to me close by. I do feel like almost a little bit like my birthright has been taken away.
A little bit.
Um,
It should be available to me, and it is not.
yes, yeah, I should be able to enjoy the fullness of the Catholic faith, the fullness of the sacraments. And I just can't really. It's not offered in a regular basis to me
Right.
without having to travel, an extensive amount of time to get to it.
That's true.
So.
I mean, but hey, at least it's only 1 hour, not like a 4-day journey.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
No, I know. I mean, there are some people I know drive 2.5 hours
Oh,
one
yeah,
way
that's true.
to every Sunday for a Latin Mass. So, It's tough too because when you live that far away, it's really hard to be part of the church community.
True.
You know what I mean?
Most of the
And you might get the mass and hit it off with some guy and his family, and you got 4 kids and they got four, and y'all get along. But guess what? You drive
he
2 hours
lives
from the south to get here,
and
and
he
he drives
drives
2 hours from the north. So you're like 4 hours away from these people.
Yep.
I've heard so many of these stories from people where it's just like, yeah, I met some really cool families at church, but we live 3 hours apart because I drive an hour and a half and they drive 2 hours in
Mm-hmm.
opposite directions, and
Yeah.
whereas we all should be able to do this in our own community.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'm not going to harp on this too much longer. That's just something. That's all the talk on Twitter right now, and Catholic Twitter is this. That's all anybody's talking about. So I just figured we'd bring it up. I'd make it up to let you guys know this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And
Well, and for what it's worth, all the new priests that just got ordained, they've been trained to do it in Latin. They learn how to do it in English and they learn how to do it in Latin. They learn how to do it both ways before they get out.
right,
So until they change it in the seminary, I'm not really sweating bullets.
yeah.
Until they say in the seminary, we don't really care about that Latin so much. I'm not sweating it.
Right. Yeah, Tyler may have a point here. Once we go check out the Maronites that are 20 minutes down the road, we may, yes. That is our local community. That is here in Peoria.
I mean,
so.
for what it's worth, there's been quite a few houses just popping up in that little neighborhood recently.
Yeah, where we could walk to that church, and I keep looking at
Yeah.
them pretty hard.
Yep.
Yeah, Lucas, I know the Orthodox still has their ancient. We still have our ancient liturgies. They're just trying to restrict your average person from having access to it for some reason.
Yeah.
But we still have them. I went to one on Sunday. Went to the ancient liturgy on Sunday. It was a good time.
Well, Jenny makes the point, sounds like where we're headed to eliminate the Latin. Now, if you watch Avoiding Babylon and listen to Anthony for any amount of time, he'll tell you that any of your prayers you don't say in Latin, you're going to have to say them again in purgatory
Right.
because they're not valid. And not that I fully believe that, but I do think that there is value in the fact that of all the languages we've had come and go in the history of humanity, Latin being able to hold on through all of this.
Right. It's one of the sacred languages.
Right.
It's
So,
Hebrew, Latin, and ancient Greek. Are
yeah.
the three sacred languages.
Yeah. So I think that us having access to it and having the language of it, it makes a difference. It does something, not that there's more power in those words, but it's kind of like speaking to someone who's bilingual and you first started speaking to them in their second language, but then you took the time to learn their first language. The conversations that you have with that person completely change.
Yeah.
And so that's how I look at it. And the idea of taking it away from us all, it
Right.
doesn't sound good to me. It sounds bad. It sounds like a bad guy.
Yeah. Well, honestly, if you ask any exorcist, they will tell you Latin has more power.
Yeah.
They say demons hate Latin. Exorcists use Latin. And yes, Jesus spoke Hebrew. Jesus also spoke ancient Greek, and Jesus also spoke Latin, because those were the three languages spoken in the area where he was living.
True.
Those are the three languages that were stapled or that were nailed to the top of the cross.
Right.
Jesus Christ, King of the Jews, in ancient Greek, Hebrew, and Latin.
Yeah.
Which is why they're the sacred languages, because those are the three languages used on the sign on the cross.
Interesting.
So yes.
Yeah, Father Maudsley is pretty great. Too old to learn a new language.
I think Aramaic is what most people call ancient Hebrew.
Yeah. Maybe. I think so. I'm
pretty sure. That's the language that was spoken at the time of Jesus, and most people call it ancient Hebrew, but I believe it technically is Aramaic. I think I think they're the same thing. Don't quote me on that, but I'm like 95% sure.
It sounds like they'd be the same thing.
Yeah. Oh. All right. Well, with that being said, I think it's time to call it a night.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, thank you guys for coming out and watching. Sorry we didn't have a more exciting show for you guys tonight.
That's okay. They all can't be dunking on Protestants.
Yeah, they can't.
Evangelicals.
They can't all be super exciting.
Yeah.
But I felt that was important just to make everybody aware of what's going on in South Carolina, and then also about the feast days of Saint Bernard, Saint Augustine,
Augustine, Canterbury, and somebody.
Yeah, Germanus.
Germain. Germanus.
Yes, Germanus.
Yes.
Yeah, Saint Germanus. So yeah, Friday.
Yes, I'll be here Friday morning for Morning Crew, 6:30 a.m. Central Time Zone, Rumble, or on Kick. You can find me at Morning Crew.
And then yeah, I'll be back on Sunday for the MASH readings and a short little recap of what's going on. Shut up, phone.
Oh,
Where's she going?
she's taking Max for a walk.
Oh, okay.
Well, she wants to go for a walk, and the proper thing to do would be to take Max with me.
Gotcha. Okay. All
I
right.
don't know if it's proper for like safety reasons or proper to like take the dog for a walk. If you're gonna go for a walk, there was no clarification on proper.
Okay.
Just
All right. Well, God bless everybody. Thanks for coming out. We love you all, and we will see you again in a couple days.
God bless you guys. Stay out of trouble.
Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful rest of your week.
Pater noster, qui es in celis, sanctificetur nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo.